Aliens Explored is a podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions and other strange events from both a believing and a sceptical perspective whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it?
In the early hours of the 14th of April 1561, the skies above the German city of Nuremberg were lit up by what has since been described as an aerial battle of extraterrestrial origin. Objects of all shapes and sizes were seen flying erratically overhead, and a large black triangular object was reported to have crashed and burned outside the city. Join us on Aliens Explored as we investigate the 1561 Nuremberg UFO Battle.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Aliens Explored, your weekly podcast where we delve into UFOs, UAPs, alien abductions, strange goings-on, and all manner of weirdness. I'm one of your weird hosts, Stu Jackson.
And I'm your... I'm not weird.
No.
Am I weird? I'm your other host, Neil Kelly, and whether I'm weird or not, I'll let you decide. It's not something I'd apply to myself.
Did you feel like I was leading you down a path?
I thought I was being led down I felt obliged to call myself weird as well. Whereas, I don't like to call myself weird. I let other people judge whether they think I'm weird or not, because we all have our standards of our parameters of normal behaviour and opinion, don't we?
We do,
and we're about to step right outside of it with our latest episode.
We are indeed. Interestingly, I'm proud of being weird.
Well, yeah. So it's who wants to be normal?
Yeah. People laugh at me because I'm not normal, and I laugh at them because they are.
Well, it's funny. People want their lives to be normal, but they don't want to be seen as normal. They want to be seen as unique.
Oh, I wouldn't want a normal life. I mean, I've never been married, I've got no kids, all these things that are expected, certainly of people our age group, it's kind of the expected thing, you go and get a normal job in a bank and you propagate, the planet with more people and you get married. No, I've never, I can quite happily make a commitment to a partner without a wedding ceremony. I'm not knocking marriage, it's just not for me. So I've always kind of bucked trends in that.
Well, and I'd like to say to all our listeners, if you've been worried that your life isn't normal enough, that you haven't got a satisfying career, or that your life isn't going quite the way you expected it to, well, actually, it's a lot more down to chance than you realise. And you're fine. You're fine, whatever you're doing.
Yes.
This is where life has brought you, and you didn't actually have much to do with it.
No, it's more down to. In fact, my father is one. He's always very keen to tell people about how he always made the right choices, and I mean, he did very well for himself. Very well. Retired at 49. He's independent, shall we say. He had a very successful career, but he will tell people it's because he made the right choice. No, it's because he had the right opportunities.
Had the right opportunities, but also I remember being very jealous of a friend of mine he's only a few months younger than me, but he was in the year below me at school, and he went on a work experience thing when he was in the sixth form, the upper end of high school. For Americans, it's from age about 16 to 18 where you do your sort of higher levels. He went on a work experience thing and they offered him a job, and he stayed in that job for the rest of his working life. He did well. He was promoted up to quite a senior management level, but it was actually the Metropolitan Police, so he was their IT director of IT. but starting from office boy, but went all the way up, working in this same job, lived in the same street all his life. And I was very jealous of the fact that he could retire at 55 or whenever it was he retired and go and pursue other things. I was jealous of his money, but I'm thinking, would I have liked to have had that life, just one job for one of these? Actually, no, I'm glad I didn't do that. Although I regret not having the money.
Well, there's that.
Yeah.
There is that. I mean, it would suit some people, and no, I think for those people it would suit. Great, go at it. But no, I'm the same. I could not. I crave variety. I crave challenges and different things. I hate routine.
Mind you, I'm a bit older than you, so if someone said to me, "Oh, you've got this job we've cast you in a soap opera, and if your character tests well, if it proves to be popular, this could be a job for life, could be the rest of your working life, or in our terms, could be the rest of your actual biological existence on this planet," I'd say, yeah, fine. They said, well, it means you can't go and do movies or other theatre or other things like that. We might let you out once in a while to do panto at Christmas. But yeah, fine, I'm good with that.
Oh, no, they won't. And I'm exactly the same with that. But even though you're playing the same character, you've still got variety within the role because you've got different challenges that come up within the script that your character would react to. So even playing the same role, there is variety. There is, less of a routine because you might be filming on different days or at different times or with different people. It's the drudgery for me of going to the same place every day at the same time, doing the same things. No.
I think this calls for a shout out to Bill Roach, who's a soap opera actor. Well, I don't know if a continuing serial, would they call it a continuing drama? He's been in Coronation Street since December 1960 when it was launched, playing the part of Ken Barlow. He's still doing it now. So he was doing this before anyone had heard of the Beatles. Some of our listeners may not remember when the Berlin Wall came down. He was doing that before the Berlin Wall went up, before Kennedy took office as President of the United States. He's been doing it all that time. Well, shout out. Anyway, Stu, I think we've digressed a little.
Well, that is our MO. Yes, because we haven't even mentioned what we're here to talk about. So why don't you tell the listeners what we're here to talk about this week?
We are here to talk about a celestial phenomenon, possible UFO dogfight over the city of Nuremberg, which was recorded in the year 1561.
Yes, indeed. It's quite a famous woodcut, this one, or at least in ufology circles. It's from a broadsheet by Hans Glaser. I mean, it's not just a woodcut, it's not just a picture. He put text with it as well. But yeah, Nuremberg,
which is
1561.
I mean, I guess that's how they wrote in those days, but it's a pretty rambling account, isn't it?
It's
difficult
more
to
like
follow.
An opinion piece. It is a little bit.
A dreadful apparition occurred on the sun.
Yes, and it's very religious as well. So he goes on, these things are sent by God, and this is a sign that you should repent.
Well, those, I mean, in England, was it? I assume this is during the reign of Elizabeth I. So
you know more about your history than me.
Yeah, I think she'd taken the throne by that time. Henry VIII died in 1547. So yeah, then there was his son Edward VI, then there was Bloody Mary. I don't think either of them lasted that long. So I think by this time we're well into Elizabethan era. So yeah, their means of recording what they saw was limited. It was limited to woodcuts and drawings and other, which could get quite fanciful. And when they're depicting anything really, and of course yes, their mindset, they wouldn't have been thinking in terms of visitors from other planets or other dimensions. They would have been thinking of visitors from heaven. It would have been a religious thing for them.
Yes, I mean, funnily enough, that's one of the reasons why I'm always hesitant to describe what we call extraterrestrials, in fact as extraterrestrials. That's why I like this word otherworldly, is because we don't know that they are coming from another planet or another dimension, or if they're time travel. We just don't know. We're just describing our current level of understanding of the universe to an unknown phenomena in exactly the same way that they did back in Nuremberg. They applied their level of knowledge, their level of understanding to it then.
And what was their level of understanding of the universe back in 1561? Was Galileo?
It's God. It's God. If it's unexplained, if it's weird, it's God. It's a miracle.
So they wouldn't have understood stars as large objects that are a long way. Actually, they're so far away that many of the stars they're looking at actually no longer exist. They're looking back in time, millions of years. They wouldn't have understood that. For them, it was fairy lights in the sky, I guess.
And that's it. Even when you look at the sun, that's looking back in time because that was 8 minutes ago.
Just a word to our listeners, yes, don't look at the sun. don't.
But you know what I mean. So this book, like I say, it's quite famous in ufology circles. And for our listeners, if you Google Nuremberg 1561 UFO woodcut, you'll see it. It comes up. There's quite a few articles about it. Had you seen it before, Neil, or is this news to you?
This is news to me. Yes, I wasn't aware of this. But it does meet the criteria. You can see why the US Department of Defense refer to unexplained, or is it unexplained or unidentified aerial phenomena?
Unidentified.
Unidentified, rather than a UFO, because this is an aerial phenomenon, isn't it? It's something in the sky that got people alarmed, a dreadful apparition.
Yeah, and do you know what? Actually, on the UAP thing, I discovered very recently that we've been saying it's a new thing. It's something they're quite recently doing. Actually, no, it goes back to like the 1900s. That was the official designation was UAPs. It was only the media that coined the term UFOs.
Well, flying saucers was 1940s, wasn't it? When
that one as well, yeah. But yeah, the term UFOs came out through the media, not through official channels. So UAPs has been the designation for a long time.
Now, according to the broadsheet that accompanies this woodcut, residents of Nuremberg saw what they described as an aerial battle, followed by the appearance of a large black triangular object and then a large crash outside the city. So that presumes there was some wreckage to be recovered.
One would think so, but it starts out before that. They talk about the sun itself doing some weird things, and then they talk about there being a large number of orbs, some of which have these red lines sort of connecting them and making crosses effectively. Orbs, of course, or spherical UFOs are not uncommon in modern descriptions. Go back to the Foo Fighters. They were described as being orbs. They also talk about cylinders as well, which again, cylindrical or cigar-shaped UFOs is not uncommon. And
didn't they identify them as cannons and cannonballs? That was the rationale for a battle. These cylinders were cannons and these orbs were cannonballs.
Well, there was nothing that I saw in the actual text of the woodcut itself. I think that's how they've been depicted visually in the woodcut.
According to the description, the globes flew back and forth among themselves and fought vehemently with each other for over an hour. And when the conflict in and again out of the sun was most intense, they became fatigued to such an extent that they all, as said above, fell from the sun down upon the earth, as if they all burned. And they then wasted away on the earth with immense smoke.
That's quite a description there.
Yeah.
And as you said, just to go back to the different types of UFO, as you rightly said, there's this large black triangle, which again, modern UFO, we see the Delta UFO a lot, and it's usually black. This could be a modern UFO description very easily. But yeah, you've got them crashing to the ground, burning up, or evaporating, or perhaps being retrieved by some other method.
Well, would they have been too frightened? Perhaps they also say, this piece also says, although we have seen shortly one after another many kinds of signs on the heaven which are sent to us by the Almighty God to bring us to repentance, we still are unfortunately so ungrateful that we despise such high signs and miracles of God, or we speak of them with ridicule and discard them to the wind, in order that God may send us a frightening punishment on account of our ungratefulness. After all, the God-fearing will by no means discard these signs, but will take it to heart as a warning of their merciful Father in heaven, will mend their lives and faithfully beg God that he may avert his wrath, including the well-deserved punishment on us, so that we may temporarily here and perpetually there live as his children. For it, may God grant us his help. Amen.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is they're just describing their understanding of the universe. You know, strange things in the sky, they would see as being... But even then, you know, in the same way that UFOs today, you know, you say, oh, I saw a UFO, you know, I think it's like an extraterrestrial or whatever, you get laughed at. That was no different back then. You know, somebody comes out and says, oh, look, it's a sign from God, and people laugh at them.
Yeah.
You know, it reads like if you just replace the whole it being a religious thing to being a UFO thing, that could be a description from today. Of course, today you'd have like camera phone footage of it.
Of course you would, yeah, or even a still photo back in or cine film or something. But in those days, they could only record things by remembering what it looked like or drawing a picture of what they see. Now, people have come up with various descriptions of what it might have been. Some experts have said it was something called a sun dog, which I'd never heard about, or a mock sun.
I'm glad you've raised this one. There are aspects of the description early on when it talks about the sun basically having a halo that do in fact describe the effects of a sundog. A sundog is a parhelion, not to be confused with a perihelion, but a parhelion is an optical illusion where you see... It's almost like the sun has fiery brackets either side of it. It's an interesting optical effect. What you don't get with a sundog is lots of orbs, lots of cylinders. They don't battle it out for hours on end, and you don't get a big black triangle turning up, and you don't get the orbs falling to earth and burning away. That doesn't happen with a sundog.
No.
So, I think it is possible that there was a sundog effect. Now, perhaps this phenomena, whatever it was, the orbs, the cylinders, and what have you, might have actually caused a sundog or a parhelion. I can imagine that happening, but I mean, to me, it's silly to say, oh, the whole thing's just a sundog, because that doesn't explain orbs falling to earth and burning up in great plumes of smoke.
No.
I've heard people say maybe it was a meteor shower, because, you know, you're seeing sort of round things flying through the sky, you know, you're getting smoke and burning effects. With the trails of some of them, it could be seen as cylindrical. But you wouldn't get them battling it out for an hour.
No. But I mean, as well as the religious significance, the people of Nuremberg had undergone various sieges. They'd undergone a siege in 1554. I think there'd been one slightly before that. So anything they see in the sky like that, fire in the sky, they're possibly going to attribute that to some kind of attack on them.
Well, that's the thing. It wasn't seen as an attack on them. It was seen as a battle between each other.
But
they were
it's gotta be-
battling amongst themselves,
Yeah.
just happened to be there.
or someone's having a fight.
Mm.
But yeah, that'll be the reason why they'd see it as a battle, because they were quite used to seeing battles. They'd been under siege only a few years previously.
Well, I would say conversely, rather than them just automatically seeing it as a battle, they've seen enough battles to know what a battle looks like.
Yeah.
So
they
I
wouldn't
think
have
that
seen a
makes them more credible.
They wouldn't have seen a battle in the sky, would they? They'd have seen a battle which involves things burning on the ground and maybe the odd thing flying, the odd projectile, the odd cannonball. But you don't really see a cannonball till it's too late.
Well, yeah. And it's... Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to accept this might not have been an actual battle, although the orbs falling to the ground and burning up is quite compelling for that argument. At least for me.
But there's no evidence that they were recovered, and no one went to look and see what had landed there.
At least not recovered by humans.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We don't have any record of anything being retrieved, as far as I can tell.
If we discovered an island with Neanderthal man still living on it, we might go and study. We might even have a battle at sea with another country, another superpower, over who gets to own this island. All of this might be observed by the inhabitants, by the Neanderthals watching. If guns or ships were washed up on shore after being destroyed, I think it'd be really important to remove those and retrieve them very, very quickly, lest they impact on the island. So,
well, I mean, there is evidence that modern wars have been fought, and they've encroached on areas where people live quite primitively, and so these primitive people have suddenly seen this battle, this pitched battle occurring with employing technologies they never could have imagined, and destructive power they never could have imagined.
Well, yeah, but you wouldn't leave it there, would you?
No, I mean, you probably understand what was... You might not even understand that it's a battle going on. It was obviously something that they could... Even though they would never have seen any form of aerial combat before. I mean, they didn't even have balloons. They didn't even come up with the idea of hot air balloons in those days. So...
But you might see aerial manoeuvres and misinterpret that as a battle. Like I say, I'm willing to accept, maybe this was just like their version of an air show and it just went wrong.
Except that they would never have seen an air show. They would never have seen even a balloon. Well, maybe a kite they might have seen.
No, I'm saying, like, for me, that's a possible interpretation. I'm happy to accept that this wasn't necessarily a battle. I just... I'm leaning towards it, but, I'm open-minded enough to accept that it might have been something else.
Well, I think seeing fire in the sky, given that the residents of this city had not so long ago endured more than one siege, they would have interpreted that as possibly a battle.
Well, I think we've pretty much exhausted this now. So let's do our usual summary of what we think about the Nuremberg woodcut. Neil.
It's very interesting. I do believe these people saw something in the sky that was beyond their understanding. I do wonder with all the dots and crosses, I wonder how much it was spots before the eyes, just because they looked at the sun. But these people were they just because of who they were and at the time they were living and where they were living. Yes, they were bound to put a religious interpretation on it. And they were bound to put a military interpretation on it because they'd been under siege in only a short time previously. So I don't know.
Do you think it was otherworldly though?
Again, I don't know. There just isn't enough. I mean, the contemporary accounts are so. I mean, they said there was a crash landing somewhere beyond the city limits, but no record of them having gone to find the thing that crashed. So I think the story is too incomplete.
It is, and of course, with it being up in the sky, with no idea about how far away these things were. They might have been massive, but...
So it was between 4 and 5 a.m. in April, so would it have still been dark then in Nuremberg?
Well, no, they're talking about the sun being present.
So it would have been at dawn, wouldn't it? So I would have thought...
Maybe it had been going on for a while.
Maybe,
it was only the dawn light that allowed, and of course people getting up, that allowed them to see it.
Yeah, well, I'd certainly be interested to hear from any of our listeners who can have some sort of insight into what could cause that kind of aerial phenomenon that could so startle religious, non-scientific people.
Well, I'm not religious. I'm probably not scientific either, but... I mean, for me, I find this really, really compelling. It meets so many of the stories we get today from modern UFO accounts. Like I say, orbs, cylinders, a big black delta UFO. And yeah, I mean, they're talking about these things crashing to Earth, burning up, lots of smoke. Yeah, I find this very, very compelling. Whilst I'm open to the idea that, you know, there might be other explanations of what actually went on. No, I'm convinced this was definitely otherworldly craft. Definitely engaged in some sort of manoeuvres. Probably having a battle. Do we have any other accounts ever of UFOs fighting a battle in our skies? Yes.
Okay, well, okay, so it's not unique in that respect. But yeah, as you say, it's interesting that this comes from a time before anyone would have been aware of beings on other planets or in other dimensions, and that they're describing the kinds of things that, you know, one of the accusations that's thrown at people who have suffered alien abductions or spotted a UFO is, well, this guy's a UFO nut anyway, so he was eventually bound to come up with something like this. But that you could never throw that accusation at anyone here.
No, I am going to back up what when I said yes. Instantly, the one that occurred to me was in 1566. There was what appeared to be and described as celestial phenomena that were said to have fought each other in terms of red and black balls. That was over Basel in Switzerland. Basel or Basel,
depending on
okay,
whether you're French or German.
But in Switzerland,
yeah.
So, yeah, it's not unheard of.
Perhaps in the last during the last 470 odd years, these extraterrestrials have kind of made a peace with each other. They don't fight battles anymore.
Yeah, or maybe one side won.
Maybe, yeah.
Fantastic. But what do you think, listeners, is the Nuremberg Woodcut an accurate example of UFOs from our own history, or is there another more mundane or perhaps less mundane explanation for it? Do write in and let us know. You can get in touch with us in the usual places. We're on Facebook and Twitter, and you can find those by searching Aliens Explored, or you can email us at aliensexplored@gmail.com. Don't forget to join us next time when we'll be discussing a really interesting case, a little bit closer to home, although, oh my goodness, 41 years ago, it really doesn't feel like it. The Cash Landrum incident.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Look forward to that.
Absolutely. So, in the meantime, keep watching, well, the skies. Because you might see a battle.
You might.
UFOs. Yeah. Take care for now.
Bye bye.
Aliens Explored is a Figo Films production in association with Juicy Falls. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter and Facebook by searching Aliens Explored or visit aliensexplored.com.